So I thought that today I'd share my thoughts on why lying is wrong. Because most people have merely inherited the morality. They were told that it's bad, bad things were done to them if they got caught. So the vast majority of people don't actually think that there are things that are bad, they're just worried about the consequences of getting caught. Why is lying bad then? Not merely because it's rude. Lying is the act of denying someone their own free will. The reasoning goes like this. In order to lie, which is the conscious and deliberate giving of information you know to be wrong, is essentially saying your reaction, if you were permitted to freely choose given all the available information, is inconvenient to me. Therefore, I'm going to feed you the information that I believe you need in order to give the response that I want. It is an attempt at manipulation. It is robbing people of their own right to choose based on the facts. There are other issues which come along. You don't know the scope of that lie, because you are probably thinking in the very short term, and maybe the short term is you get out of trouble, or you aren't embarrassed. But then that person believes that reality is in state A, when in fact it's state B. They then make decisions based on state A, and then as they go along, deviation between those 2 points simply increases. So eventually there will be some snapback where they realize that they've made increasingly wrong decisions, and what could have been a small little lie at the beginning has had major impacts. Because it could take a very long time for them to realize just where everything seems to be going wrong. Because you don't actually know what their reaction to your lie will be. One of their most fundamental assumptions might have been the fact that you were telling the truth about that fact. So what happens when they find out that you were lying to them? Not they yell at you, not they feel upset. If someone originally trusted you, what that meant was they could look at the information you fed them and simply treat it as fact. You were an oracle of sorts. Well, now, if they don't know something and they ask you, they have to do an extra layer. They have to wonder, what could your motivations be for giving me this information? How, if I were you, would I be manipulating this? Is it a white lie? Is it a full lie? Time and effort now has to be spent on every bit of information that you give them. If you are in an honest group where people will tell you what is true, even when it's to their detriment, the whole group benefits. Because then you remove all of those, well, he might be lying because she thinks this and then he thinks that. This person needs to hear this, so I might actually not be the one who's being lied to. All of the mental effort expended on that, all of the time, can be redirected towards something that is productive. This is why people say you should just face the music. Something bad happened. If you tell them that something bad happened now, they can fix it now. If you wait until you are discovered, and then finally own up when there's clearly no other way, well, now they have to fix a problem which at best is the same size, but they have less time to do it. And also they now have to deal with the fact that they can't trust what you tell them. You say, oh, well, I lied the first time, I won't lie from now on. Well, how do I know you're not lying about that? I believed you the first time, there's no reason for me to believe you now. So the costs of lying are not merely what happens to you. The cost of lying is what happens to the group. There's also a certain psychological element to people who lie. And let's go with first impressions on people you can tell are lying to you. Let's give 2 examples. Men with muscle implants and women who wear too much makeup. Now, dealing with the muscle implants. The people who get muscle implants or synthol or such things believe that it is merely the appearance, it is the shape of the muscle that is relevant. The reason that we like, well, people in general who look strong have a muscular body is because they have the capacity to do things. Muscle is the way that we generate force against external resistances. People who have larger muscles, because it's all based on cross-sectional area, ignoring the different types of muscle fiber, are able to produce more force. Therefore, they are more useful assets. It also is a sign of health, because there's not something getting in the way of that muscular development. It also shows that their nervous system is working well, because those muscles must be able to contract. So the sign of health and of usefulness. There's also a certain aspect of mental stability. And yes, I'm quite familiar with people who roid rage. But the general person who is strong, certainly throughout the vast majority of human history before discovering drugs, if you were to get to that stage, you had to be pretty well sorted. You had to not be drinking all the time. You had to not be continuously neurotic. You had to be doing useful work, at least in some way, shape, or form, and you had to be taking care of yourself, eating right, etc. This is also why we like lean muscular bodies, because these are not muscles that are the result of hedonism, of overindulgence. You're eating appropriately and still gaining. What about makeup, though? Because I've heard endless excuses from women that I wear the makeup for myself. That's wrong, and you know it. And everyone else does too. First of all, you can't see it. It makes you feel good. Wearing a suit also feels good for me. But I at least have the ability to acknowledge the reason I like wearing a suit is because I know how other people will see me. Why am I making such a big point over makeup? Reasonable amounts of makeup are fine. It's the same as me making sure I'm freshly shaven before going out. Presentability. If, however, you are completely caked up, what this means is, again, you are attempting to, from the very beginning, before you even open your mouth, portray an image of you which is not accurate. This is not what you look like. Your skin may not even be that tone. Certainly not that consistency. It would be more convenient for you if this was the way you looked. And rather than allowing other people to make decisions about whether or not they find you attractive, whether or not they think you're... Insert the various determinations that we make about people based on sight, which are not baseless. As I previously said with the muscle thing, you have to, in order to get that body, have some level of discipline. You have to not be absolutely off the rails. And especially if we're talking about potential partners. Because if it is inconvenient for you that a man be able to make a decision based on how you actually look, and you feel that you are entitled to lie and not have anyone be concerned by this, about your appearance, in order to force a result, because that is the problem. The problem with the muscle implants so that you look more attractive, the problem with the makeup, the problem with lying about your income, the problem with any of these lies is not the lie itself. It is that you are attempting to force a result which would not happen if the other person was allowed to choose based on the facts. Putting stuff on your face is one of your rights. For the simple fact that, yes, You are allowed to do with your body what you wish. However, we are allowed to be concerned by the fact that you don't want to show us your real face.